Let's talk about the UK. I actually recorded an episode yesterday of the Gender Wars. Shannon is back. Hi, Shannon. But I've decided to change tack. I want to talk about Kier.
Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests, individuals will be held on remand, charges will follow, and convictions will follow. I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves. This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery, and it has no place on our streets or online.
Who is protesting? And they are protests. There are probably some far-right people. I'm not going to deny that. That exists. When there's division like there is in the country, political division, you do have extremists, whether they're on the far left or the far right, it doesn't matter, at the vanguard stoking these issues. That exists. It's a politician's job, or we would hope that it is a politician's job to calm that. But he's not doing this. He's stoking it. Everyone is far right. Now, I've seen live streams of rallies across the country in the UK that are calm, that are peaceful. And that isn't getting covered. Those people aren't far right. This has happened because young girls, and when I say young, I mean 6, 7, 8-year-olds, were murdered. And he's not talking about that. That's what kicked it off. People don't feel safe. And they're angry about it.
Right now, there are attacks happening on a hotel in Rotherham. Marauding gangs intent on law-breaking, or worse. Windows smashed, fire set ablaze, residents and staff in absolute fear. There is no justification, none, for taking this action. And all right-minded people should be condemning this sort of violence.
Yeah, so in Rotherham, there is definitely a lot of fires. And a hotel, migrant hotel, is on fire. It's burned down. Maybe I'll put a clip of it in a bit. But this isn't coming out of nowhere. People have been complaining about the issues associated with unfettered immigration. Unvetted. They're not vetting people. Crime has risen. There are people all over Britain on the streets with machetes. People don't feel safe.
People in this country have a right to be safe. And yet, we've seen Muslim communities targeted, attacks on mosques, other minority communities singled out, Nazi salutes in the street, attacks on the police, wanton violence alongside racist rhetoric. So no, I won't shy away from calling it what it is, far-right thuggery.
He is completely making this about the working class Brits who are upset about what's going on. I have seen Nazi salutes from both sides. I have seen it. There are people really angry, stoking the flames on both sides. And he's not saying that. There have been racist attacks on both sides, but he's making this about one side. I actually think Keir Starmer knows what he's doing. He has intelligence. He knows what's going on, and it's not what he's saying. I believe that he's using this as an opportunity for something. Now, left to be seen what it's going to be. I have a feeling there's going to be some martial law going on because he knows that he's stoking the flames. He knows that by doing this, he's making the situation worse. So he's not calming down the situation at all. He's not trying to engage with communities.
To those who feel targeted because of the colour of your skin, or your faith. I know how frightening this must be. I want you to know that this violent mob do not represent our country, and we will bring them to justice. Our police deserve our support as they tackle any and all violent disorder that flares up. Whatever the apparent cause or motivation, we make no distinction. Crime is crime, and this government will tackle it. Thank you. So, two questions, Rob.
Yes, we've seen a hotel being set fire to and not instead being broken into. Can you say that the policing operation has been a success, and what more can the government do to stop this?
Well, as a government, we've had meetings all weekend and in the latter part of last week with law enforcement, with police, to make sure the necessary support and arrangements are in place. We do have standing arrangements for law enforcement, which means that we can get arrests, charged, remands in custody and convictions done very quickly. I myself was part of that in 2011 when I was Director of Public Prosecutions, and I'm determined we will do whatever it takes to bring these thugs to justice as quickly as possible.
Do you believe everyone that is taking part in this disorder is part of the far right? And do any of the scenes we are seeing at the moment give you pause for thought about divisions in the country or how you approach other broader domestic policy areas?
If you target people because of the colour of their skin or their faith, then that is far right, and I'm prepared to say so. But it doesn't matter what apparent motivation there is. This is violence, it is not protest. It doesn't matter what the motivation is. The motivation for the vast majority of people in this country is to see their streets safe, and that's what I'm determined that we will deliver.
People are protesting because they don't feel safe. They haven't felt safe for decades. They've been trying to tell their governments. That's what's going on, especially the Northerners. This is what they're more poor than they are far right. The people that really started these riots, you can tell these are some of the poorest people. No, it's really dumb that they're looting shops. I agree with that. But they've been trying to speak out for a long time, and the governments have not been listening. A government has a choice. They can either choose to calm a situation down or to stoke the flames. And he is stoking the flames. He knows what's going on, and he is making it about a so-called far right. He's making it worse. This is what people need to understand, is that this man, Kier Starmer, he knows that what he's saying is not the entire truth. We are going to see more riots. We are going to see more fires because this is not going to calm anyone down. They don't feel heard. And he's just making it about, I'm going to calm down. We're going to finish watching this.
Thank you.
Prime Minister, is it possible that tougher sentences could be given out to rioters, as they were in 2011, to act as a deterrent?
I think there needs to be the full force of the law, and I think it needs to be swift. What happened in 2011 was that we were able to see individuals who took part in violence, arrested, charged, remanded and convicted very swiftly. Standing arrangements are in place for that, and we will do whatever it takes to ensure that the message is absolutely clear that if you're taking part in this violence, you will regret it and you'll be brought to justice as quickly as possible. Thank you very much.
It really does feel like this issuing threats. It does not feel like a government that wants to resolve the problem, that wants to engage with the communities at all. He is upset after the murders of those children. He went up to Stockport and he laid down a wreath, I believe, at the site where people were laying down toys and all kinds of different items for the girls. And he turned his back on the people and walked off. He's not interested in engaging with those communities. He talks about people feeling safe. He's talking about him feeling safe from the people that he's upset or that the government is upset. He's talking about whoever's on his side to feel that they don't have to engage with the issues that ordinary Northerners have about protecting their own families and their own communities from some of the violence that's been put upon them over the years. Now, Keir Starmer is correct. There are angry British people on the streets causing violence, which is not going to help anyone. And I really wish they would stop. This is not going to solve it. But I understand their frustration because these people have been trying to engage with these things for at least 2 decades, and it's got worse and worse and worse. And now look at how the Prime Minister is treating his own people. I understand why they're doing it, but it's not going to help. This is going to lead, I actually believe this is going to lead to martial law. I think that's where the UK is headed right now because it's not going to calm down the situation. But what he hasn't addressed, you can go on and you will see these rioters in Liverpool, in Sheffield, in Bolton, and Rotherham. You can see that is happening. I'm not going to deny that. And it's awful. We shouldn't be burning down shops and looting shops to get a point across. That is happening. But what he's not talking about is that that's not the only thing that's going on. This is why they call him two-tier Kier. This is a two-tier police system where they're only going after one group and creating a narrative so that you buy this narrative and the media is backing this narrative. So let's just look at a video of other things that are going on across the country in response. What is this? This is a group of, I can imagine maybe some well, it'll be Muslim gangs in there because there are gangs called the Muslim Defense League saying, fuck EDL. Now, from my understanding, the EDL has not existed for over 10 years, and yet they're being blamed. A non-existent group are being blamed for what's going on across the country. This is dangerous. These so-called anti-racists and Muslim groups are fighting ordinary people who are upset about what's happened to them, being called far-right thugs, being called Nazis, being called whatever name in the book, and using the excuse of a non-existent group to go after them. Like I keep saying, the Prime Minister knows that the EDL doesn't exist. He knows that a lot of the issues that the so-called good guys, these Antifa types, he knows that they're going after something that isn't real, and it's used as an excuse so that people will be okay with shutting down all of that dissent. I know I'm talking about UK issues here, but this is not dissimilar to issues that we've had in Canada as well. Yeah. People arguing outside migrant hotels. The migrants are held in these hotels across the country. This is in Bristol. I used to live there. This is the south. It's very far left. Fights breaking out over this. It's crazy.
Oh shit, man, they're in. They're in. Oh wow.
Where are you bastards?
They're in! Fucking hell! They are we're upstairs at that. Get them! Oh shit.
Yeah, that's another migrant hotel in Rotherham. So the situation is actually really complicated. I don't think this is helpful. I don't think this is going to end well. I think people rioting are playing into the hands of a government that will use this to clamp down on them. And use this not to listen to anything they have to say. And I think Keir Starmer's made that very clear, that that's exactly what they intend to do. And I think it's not, I just wish I could see this ending positively or getting something of value out of this. And I just don't see that happening. People are angry for all kinds of reasons, whatever their politics, they are angry, and it is popping off all over the country. The Prime Minister is stoking that. The police are stoking that. What I haven't shown is how the police have been going after people. I've seen in 2 different cities police vehicles either swerving deliberately to hit citizens on the streets or continuing driving into citizens. I've seen police in riot gear, I think it was in Liverpool, arrest a young man and say, "You're wearing dickhead clothes and you're from a dickhead area, that's why I'm arresting you." You know, there needs to be some kind of good governance, and there just isn't any good governance. What I would like to see, I would really like to see the media understand the complexity of these issues here and not just take a far-right thuggery attitude towards this. Because this is similarly to the parents' rights movement, who in Canada, our government is trying to frame that as a far-right movement as well, under a terrorist threat. Most of these people, so yes, there are rioters and angry people, but there's actually a lot of other people who are not rioting, who are also feeling unsafe because of some of the immigration issues, right? Who are standing who are standing together in cities across the country or talking in local groups across the country peacefully about how to address some of these issues. They are regular mums and dads, and they're being lumped into far-right thugs because the governments are not listening. I can't underline that enough. All Keir Starmer would have to do is extend a hand and calm the situation down and engage with the communities. That's what I would like to see. And if not that, I would really like to see some media trying to cover this in a more nuanced way than just calling them far right. Now, I expect the CBC to do that, but what I didn't expect was the National Post. Look at this headline. Although nothing to do with what's happened recently, this was back in 2023, but it's an interesting headline here. The far right only exists in the minds of paranoid progressives. I would agree with that to a point. There is a far right. There are racist far right people. They do exist, and they are definitely, in my personal opinion, taking advantage of a situation, just like the far left radicals take advantage of a situation. So that exists. But the National Post is happy to say here that, you know, there's some nuance here that is not being heard, that we are using the far right way too liberally to accuse people of things. And yet, look, UK police make at least 100 arrests after far right protests descend into riots. I find that really disappointing. I do. I just wish there was a little bit more understanding of the situation. I mean, does this person even know? Who is this person that wrote it? Is there a byline? Yeah, I can't really see one. At least 100 people have been arrested after far-right protests descended into riots this weekend in England and Northern Ireland, with police warning that the violence may not be over. Now, again, I'm sure there are some people in there that are far-right, but the fact is, a lot of the people organizing these protests are not far-right. They're just normal people, everyday people who have an issue with some of the unfettered immigration that's been going on in the country. Again, I would like to see the media do a better job on this. You know, I am very worried about the UK. I would like this to calm down. I would like to see the media calm it down. I would like to see the police calm it down. I would mostly like to see the politicians calm this down, because otherwise, I don't think this is going to end well, and I think we're going to continue to see a lot more violence. I'm going to log this off here. I don't know if this has helped anyone, but I'll be watching the situation a bit more closely and see what happens over the coming days, possibly even at this point week, to see what's going on. I think it would be... I think this can affect Canada in one way or another. If this is used as an opportunity to bring in authoritarian control measures, I've heard discussion about potentially bringing in so-called COVID-style lockdowns over this kind of thing.
I think the government, the new ministers in office, will understand that the British public will back them in whatever measures they feel is necessary to get this situation under control. Hopefully, we can see this petering out now over the next few days, and the extra effort which is being and focus which is being put on forces being able to have effect. But if that isn't the case, I think the British public will back further action from ministers in this emergency to get things under control. I think we should cast our mind back to the days of the days of COVID, where actually the public accepted an emergency situation during COVID and were prepared to back and lawmakers were prepared to support the kind of temporary measures to ensure that basically rioters were not able to claim forgive me, back in COVID they were prepared to back measures that were needed in that situation. I think they would take a similar approach to keeping rioters off the streets now, given the scale of damage which is being done to communities.
I don't even know if they're creating this situation, but I certainly feel at this point that they are actually actively involved in worsening the situation so that they can bring in whatever it is that they want to bring in that's unpopular, like a COVID style lockdown that everybody's like, oh, we have to have all these lockdowns. Oh, and then we have lockdowns. Okay, now we're going to have total facial recognition. We're going to have digital ID and all this conspiracy stuff that people keep saying is a conspiracy theory. Well, it seems pretty likely in this situation. Why else would the prime minister of a country who's been in place a month, as far as, about a month, is doing his very best to stoke the worst possible riots the country has probably at this point ever seen. I could be wrong on that, but it feels to me that these are going to be the worst riots that the country has ever seen. Why would he do that? What would be the benefit of doing that? Because you have something that you want to put in place. That's how I look at it now. You know, it's really difficult not to see that the government and the managerial class in charge want to see this happen so that they can put whatever their policies are in place. And we know from looking at Canada that a lot of that is very authoritarian, right? So yeah, I'm going to keep watching this, and hopefully we will see some breaking in the violence. That's what I hope. And if anyone's from the UK listening to this, which I doubt, but if you are, stay safe, stay peaceful. Maybe try to encourage people to also be peaceful, because that is not going to help. That is just going to bring about the things that you don't want to bring about. Good luck.